Well, it's interesting, you know, often I'm asked, you know, like, and how did you become a Buddhist, you know? And I always say, well, I became a Buddhist because I hated my husband. So my situation was that in the second marriage, I actually talk about this in When Things Fall Apart. I was innocently drinking a cup of tea in front of our house in New Mexico and, on this beautiful day, and my husband walked around the corner and told me that he is having an affair with somebody and that he wanted a divorce. Then it turned out he had been having quite a few affairs with quite a few somebodies. So I was so undone by this. And I think actually I've met a lot of people since that for some reason divorce is always painful, and what you feel as betrayal is always very painful. But sometimes, more than other times, something completely is like an annihilation. Something that happens to you in your life like annihilates you. And I could not get any ground under my feet. And I felt so much anger and so much terror at my anger. And all of this was very unfamiliar to me. And I had managed pretty successfully up to that point in my life, and I think I was 35 or something like that, to kind of be easygoing and friendly and you know, warm-hearted and always looking on the bright side. And wow, that was gone. You know, I kept having all these fantasies about going up, burning down his house, you know, and hurting her child, and you know, breaking all the windows, and whoo, it was like heavy duty. And I was afraid of my anger, but also there it was. So I started looking in a major way. Really, I was looking to try to find some ground. And but there was something in me that felt like this was important, that this was such, that there was nothing I could do to entertain myself out of this feeling. It was so totally, such a total annihilation and so totally devastating that, you know, going to the movies, smoking a joint, nothing worked, you know. Everything just seemed to heighten the sense of groundlessness and the fear. So, so I started looking in different therapies, different spiritual disciplines, and I dabbled in lots of stuff there for a while. And then, one day, I was given an article, and it happened to be by Chödrön Rinpoche, who ultimately became my teacher. And this article was called Working with Negativity. It's now actually, in an edited form, a chapter in the book, The Myth of Freedom, by Chödrön Rinpoche. It's called Working with Negativity, and in that he said, there is nothing wrong with negativity per se. He says it's actually a powerful energy. It's actually very juicy and creative and can wake you up. He said the problem is negative negativity, which is like all the spin-off from negativity, blaming the other person or blaming yourself, or the endless spin-off. But what he was saying was that the energy itself was, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's helpful. And I always say, I don't understand why that made such an impression on me, because I've been trying to understand that article ever since. I read it over and over and over, and it's still difficult to understand. But when I read it, it was the first thing that made any sense to me, that what I was feeling was actually a key to something rather than an obstacle to something. And so from that I got involved in Buddhism, initially not with Trungpa Rinpoche, but very soon afterward, a year later actually, I became a nun, believe it or not. I was a fast mover. I did everything like this, you know. And then right after that I became Trungpa Rinpoche's student. So why did I become a nun? Good question. At the time I thought I was a very worldly, older woman of 36, or whatever I was, 36 or 7 or something. I had had 2 marriages. I felt very fulfilled in terms of my sexual life. I felt like I had done it all, and my passion now was for understanding that article, I think, really. I wanted to know how to wake up and how to use the energy of my life to wake up, and that was I had like such a passion. All my passion went into that. So ironically, that's why I became a nun, because of this passion to want to know. And I've since then, because I live in a monastery, a lot of young people and older people come there to become monks or nuns, either permanently or on a temporary basis. And believe me, not everybody becomes a monk or nun for that reason. There's a lot of trying to run away from life, your sex life hasn't worked out, so you decide to become a monk or a nun. And, it's like there's a lot of weird reasons out there for why you try to run away from life and become a monk or nun. And we try to discourage that at the monastery, but in my own case, that was not the motivation. It was definitely because I wanted to dive right in. And I felt like the usual ways of diving in I had already related to, and I wanted to go the spiritual path, or whatever you want to call it. I wanted to find out the answers.